Hello and welcome. I'm Lloyd Grimshaw and I'm a member of the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church. I'm also occasionally the church's spokesperson in the media. So I get to see all the questions that journalists have about the church. And like the saying goes, sometimes they don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. This podcast is about putting all the facts on the table. In the first 4 episodes, we're speaking with the 4 sons of our church's most senior leader, Mr. Bruce Hales. Gareth, Dean, Greg and Charles, thanks again for your time. Previously, the 5 of us have discussed what life is like in the church. Today, I'd like to talk to you about what it's like when people leave it. How many people do leave the church and what are the main reasons?
We have a fellowship of about 55,000 churchgoers or members globally, and thankfully it is rare that someone does choose to leave the church. If you look at the Sydney congregation, where there's approximately 900 people, there has been 8 in the last decade that has left the church in this area, and 4 of them were young and chose to leave the church to pursue a different lifestyle, and the other 4 chose to leave their wives and therefore leave the fellowship. So thankfully it is rare that it happens.
So what happens to a person when they do leave the church, Dean?
Yeah, we don't cut them off. It comes down to their individual families if they wish to stay in contact with them, and they're free to reach out if they get in a difficult position or they need some support or some help. They can absolutely reach out for support.
I think a lot of the confusion around the church is because of the language: excommunication, shut up, confinement, withdrawn from. What does it mean to be confined or shut up, Gareth?
It takes you a fair process to actually get confined or shut up, Lloyd. It means you just keep going back to something wrong that's not in accordance with our way of life and our values. But normally people get many chances. But finally, if it comes to the point where they just want to continue it, then we confine them. It doesn't mean we confine them to a room. It just means they don't actually go out to the meetings. But there's a lot of support, a lot of care, a lot of help, and a lot of support people come around to try to help them. Probably 99% of people come from a confined or shut up position back into the church or the fellowship. And then, the 1% that decide they don't want our way of life, then they leave. But we don't shut them out. We don't ignore them. Yeah, we offer ongoing support and help.
So what happens when someone is finally excommunicated?
It just means they no longer come to our churches or our meeting gatherings. The family as such don't shut them off or ignore them or treat them badly or look down on them. Obviously we keep to the truth of separation so that we wouldn't eat or drink with them or socialise, but we'd be always there to lend a helping hand if ever a trouble arose.
So can they ever come back to the church, Greg?
Yeah, absolutely, and many have, and we will welcome them back if they want to recommit to our beliefs and practices.
In many situations, Lloyd, as Charles said, thankfully it's rare and it's sad when it happens, but just like we see in the broader community, in the broader world, estrangement can come in between husband and wife and they go their separate ways, which then results in separation and a divorce. Our focus and our mantra, I guess, is always reconciliation and making sure that husband and wife mend their ways and get back together again. But sadly, there are situations that they decide to pursue an alternative pathway that's different to the values that we hold true, and that's a choice that they make.
So, as you say, family estrangements come in for all sorts of reasons, whether religion's involved or not. But do you think that happens more frequently in the church than other places, Gareth? Or?
Oh, it's pretty rare, Lloyd. If you even look at divorce rates, I just Googled it this morning in Australia, it's 40%. Ours is less than 0.01%. So that shows how much we hold family first, good values, good principles, hold the family together. We're very much family first and everything is centred on the family.
Some say that when they do leave the church, they are cut off from the family, Charles, and some even say they have their photos cut out of the family photo album.
That would
comment on that? Or?
I think we need to respect the individual families when choices like that are made. And I wouldn't want to go into any detail of any. You'd have to look at it on a case-by-case basis, but it's not the church forcing that to happen. It's particular families that may choose to have photos changed or retaken, but it's not the church that forces that.
So when let's say a husband and wife are confined, are their children taken off them and placed with other families, Dean? Or
No, definitely not. Normally the
happens?
children would go with the parents, unless of course they are old enough and of age, maybe over 16 or 18, and they decided to stay with the church. It's absolutely an individual matter. There may have been some isolated incidents, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, where the church made a mistake, but that certainly wouldn't be the case these days. I think most churches in Australia, and indeed globally, would look at some things that may have happened decades ago and say that if it occurred today, it'd be definitely handled differently, and the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church is in the same boat.
What about when people leave? Some of them have said they were fired from their jobs. Greg, is that mandatory? Does that normally happen?
I'm not sure of any case, or I'm not sure what you're referring to, but what I would say is the church doesn't own any businesses and doesn't employ anyone. So if someone has been fired, you'd have to go to the business owner and ask them. It's hiring and firing is solely and wholly, the responsibility of the business owners.
Many ex-members have made allegations about mistreatment at the hands of the church. Gareth, have you got any comment to make about that? Or?
Yeah, sadly that's true, Lloyd. As Dean was saying, it was more like sort of 25, 30, 40 years ago. But yeah, some were unfairly treated and put out wrongly, and yeah, my heart goes out to them. I feel very sorry. We actually had like a review, I think it was in 02, 03, and a lot of matters were put right globally. We wrote letters, and I know in Sydney, my wife had two uncles, nice guys actually, one's in real estate, and yeah, they were put out wrongly, but they're happy with their position. And in fact, it's my grandpa, he passed away about 10 years ago, come to the burial. They were just happy that we were looking after their father and mother. But yeah, our heart goes out to people that have been mistreated, and any mistakes we've made, we'll acknowledge it. But I think our whole church has evolved like a lot of churches and a lot of foundations, and we've moved with the times. We keep true to our values and principles, but we're a lot more flexible and open to working situations out. Would you say, Dean?
Absolutely.
So where there's been allegations of wrongdoing, what do we do to investigate those allegations, Dean?
Yeah, so if a report comes to our attention, obviously we'd follow that up and follow that through. And if it needed to involve the authorities or external body, then it would be followed through accordingly.
Are church members told that they should fear the outside world, Charles?
No, but we do fear the system of the world as set up by Satan. And as we look at the Holy Scriptures and we try to live in accordance with the Bible, the Lord himself said, "My kingdom is not of this world." So we would fear what could happen to us or anybody that would get away from the system of protection and care that was set on by Christ when he was here.
We said that infidelity was a reason that some people leave the church, but what about sexuality? When people come out as gay, do they get excommunicated from the church, Gareth?
No, they don't get excommunicated for coming out gay, and they finally have to decide what way of life they want. A lot of them actually just choose to stay within the fellowship. Others actually decide they want to pursue an alternative lifestyle, so they invariably would leave the church. But we don't look down on them. We don't treat them as second rate. Indeed, in our workplaces, I've worked with many members of the LGBTQ community and got on very well with them, delivered projects and had good relationships with them.
So the church, does it forbid persons from having to do with family members that have come out as gay?
No, they wouldn't. The family would be free to interact with them and talk with them and speak with them. Obviously, we'd still practice the truth of separation.
But I guess that comes down to individual situations, Lloyd. The church doesn't insist either way, but it comes down to the individual family. So there would be situations where someone may have come out gay, pursued an alternative lifestyle and left the church, and if the family choose not to engage and continue contact with that sibling or that family member, then that's their matter.
We obviously believe what it says and go by what it says in the Bible, that marital relationships is between a man and a woman. And sometimes that may mean that members that want to pursue a different lifestyle to that will leave the church by their own choice. When you speak of people from the LGBT community getting cut off. It's not right and it's not correct, because, for instance, an employee that we had, Gareth, that worked for us for many years, was part of that community. He remained as part of the church for probably 10 or 15 years. Then he chose to pursue another lifestyle, and we keep in touch with him. His family keeps in touch with him. If at any time he is in need in any way, shape or form, whether it be physically, financially, mentally, he will call out for help, and we are more than happy to sit down with him and help him out.
He often rings up, Charles, and just wants to chat about general life, and we ask him how he is and does he need any further support or anything else, but no, we remain on as good friends with him.
Well, other churches seem to have become more accepting over the years. Why hasn't the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church?
Well, the church is evolving, maybe slower than mainstream churches, but I think we've been encouraged recently that the Catholic Pope has just affirmed to 1.4 billion Catholics worldwide that the family is founded upon the stable union between a man and a woman. We certainly acknowledge that others can do and have other beliefs and views, but the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church believes everyone should be treated with care and compassion and respect.
So does the church practice gay conversion therapy? Or?
No,
Absolutely not.
No way.
Is there a lot of bullying amongst church members, particularly younger ones, for being different, Greg? Or?
No, I don't think so. Obviously, like any community, we would have bullying, whether it's at the school or in the playground. But on the whole, we celebrate the different personalities and characters, and that's really what makes our community interesting, isn't it?
Well, that brings us to the end of our interview with the Hales brothers. We've covered some pretty tough topics in this episode in particular, but we do want to end on a positive note. So I'd like to ask each of you, what is it that you really enjoy about being part of the church?
Yeah, it's a good question, Lloyd. I think what binds us and holds us together is that we have a common bond of love and friendship. We love the Lord Jesus, we love God, we love our family, we love our community, we love one another. We see ourselves as going through this scene with a view to transitioning or moving on to heaven in the next life. And that's really what holds and binds us together as we go through this scene.
I think the support network that we have amongst this church is a great thing to call upon. We all have stress, we all have sorrow, we all have sadness, but then to be able to draw upon those that are in the church for help at any time, and also to be able to go to the meetings at night and see them on a daily and weekly basis, I think brings a lot of happiness and a lot of joy to our lives, would you say?
Absolutely. So when we get together, we have a great time together, whether it's in the church, whether it's in our homes, wherever we are, whatever environment we're in, we get on very well. Would you say, Gareth?
It's good, Dean. It gives us peace in our lives, happiness, contentment, but it really gives us direction and focus in our lives and purpose, which is important.
I think it's really the great sense of trust we have within the members of our church and the love amongst one another. And I'd like to say that over the years I've found friends in all the countries that the PBCC have operated in, and we could realistically, any one of the saints could ring any one of the 55,000 other ones if they were stuck or in distress, and they could get help immediately.
And we've actually experienced that, haven't we, on our travels over the last 2 decades. We've been privileged and favoured to go to a number of countries, and we've stayed at homes and met people that we've never met before or never known. And you might be in a lounge room in a family home in the middle of Paris with 30 other members of the Plymouth Brethren, and there's happy times, there's joy, there's experiences shared, and there's that common bond of connection and togetherness that we haven't experienced anywhere else.
It's very reconfirming and reassuring when we travel overseas and to see people in France or Germany or America. They're all living the same values, same principles, same family life that binds us together universally.
And all holding true to separation, which really is the backbone of our church.
And what keeps you in the church, Lloyd?
Well, I think some of the things you've covered certainly resonate with me. I guess first and foremost, it's the privilege of being able to gather every week at the Lord's Supper with persons, like-minded Christians, persons who we know and trust and understand, and persons who we fellowship with. That certainly keeps us in the church. But we're all trying to get through this life. We've all got families to look after. We've all got mortgages to pay off, businesses to run. We all have the sorrows and joys of life. But certainly being connected to the church, a brilliant support structure, like you've been saying, and gives you a sense of being connected to something that's bigger than yourself. You always get a sense of someone that's there to cover your back and make you feel connected and grounded. So, yeah, it's a wonderful privilege to be in this fellowship.
So the community really gives its members confidence, gives them hope, and it really gives them a way forward for the future.
Well, thanks again, guys, and thanks again for anyone who's tuned in. Be sure to check out the next episode.